All right, what up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Corner Podcast. Kel Dansby here with the old man Andreas Hale, recording remote because this is how we're giving it up going forward till we figure out like our next moves and everything. Thank you, everyone, for rocking with us our entire time at Blue Wire Studios. Thanks, Blue Wire. That was an amazing experience. We'll see what comes, forward from that. But in the meantime, we're here at the crib. As you can see, the old man always has the best backdrop. If you guys are watching on the Patreon, I got the pool table in the back with the credentials. It is nice to just roll out of bed and record these. So it's going to be fun to do so. Everyone who's on the Patreon, thank you, thank you, thank you. Always appreciate you guys for supporting. If you're not yet, what is taking so long? Always dope episodes over there. And you get to see our videos every single week. Producer Cole Bebe is working hard so we can make it look exactly the same for you guys going forward. So that's going to be really cool as well. We're not missing a beat at all. I say that, but we missed our Tuesday recording this week because I started a new job. So I had to take kind of the day off and mess up the old man's schedule while I did that. But we are here and finally talking about MMA. UFC 299 going down this weekend. Probably their best card of the year. If I had to punch it in today, it's probably going to be their best card of the year. So I'm hype off of that. I want to talk a little bit of PFL and the fight game. But before we get into all that, Dre, I got to discuss something. It's on my chest since last weekend.
What?
We released the pro wrestling episode. At the end of the episode, we threw the Virgil interview. People hadn't heard it. I forgot how many people chimed in after so long. Released the Virgil interview. People are shocked at my voice then versus now.
I said your nuts dropped. I said it on the show. But people didn't believe me. Your testicles dropped.
People
over the
had
past few
no
years,
clue.
over the past few years, people were new to the podcast, or people are listening and just haven't noticed a gradual change. When you go from that Virgil interview to 2024, it's like two different human beings.
Yeah, I'm starting to sound better now. So everyone who hears my voice weekly, this is like the okay version of that. When you caught me like 2022, 2021, like the post-pandemic shows, as we were recording to the world opening back up, it was the worst. It sounded like I was smoking 3 packs a day. I could barely record. I had to do like hot tea and honey before shows. Dre was here before shows telling me, just get it fixed. Have the damn circuit. I was like, no, I'm good. I'll rock out. And now I have the cool ass radio voice. So made a really good decision there. But yes, that is me on that show. My voice has changed due to me getting sick during the pandemic and my vocal cords getting wrecked. So this is the voice you guys get from here on out. I appreciate everyone for reaching out to me, even those who laughed at me online, because I did sound like I was 12 years old prior to that.
Yeah,
First 5, 6 years of this podcast, I sounded like I was 5 years old. But it made the hot takes even better because I sounded like a Gen Xer just throwing shit at the board.
You sounded like Riley on the Boondocks throwing out hot takes.
Yep. Yes, I did. Oh man, I need that voice back. You see now I miss it because now I had the Boondocks cartoon voice. No, thank you everyone for listening to that episode, for watching it on Patreon. I put it on Patreon as well. You guys are the best. Thank you, thank you, thank you. MMA time today though, Dre. And before we jump into UFC, right before we recorded this, which is on the Thursday, PFL had their Paris card, which was really hyped up. They're kind of splitting it to like normal PFL and like Bellator stuff in the US. And then they have these international cards. They have, and this is what I felt like talking about real quick, probably the most exciting prospect, and he's not young, but the most exciting prospect in all of MMA in Cedric Doumbe. And he's what Israel Adesanya was when he's transitioned from kickboxing to mixed martial arts. And Cedric said he was never going to come through. He was never going to change. He had no interest. Changed his mind like a year ago, knocked the dude out in like 6 seconds. And his last fight that I saw in PFL, this guy's going to be a star. Cool. They decided today to pair him up with their best prospect on the roster. A guy who is like watching young Habib. And I was like, why? It took Israel Adesanya 11 fights to fight a wrestler? Maybe. Like
Well, no, he fought Marvin Vittori.
he's
And,
like 8 in, right? Like, because he had
and
5 in a year when he first
yeah,
started.
but he didn't fight like I have to look. He
He
fought
ain't fight somebody like this.
he fought a wrestler pretty early. He wasn't Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor didn't fight a wrestler forever.
They should have done that. Because you not only did you fight a wrestler, you fought a wrestler who is young, looks like he's going to be a future champion. Again, this is like pairing someone against, you might as well let him fight Hamza.
Yeah,
Like
Israel fought Vittori in his second fight in the UFC.
in the UFC, but what was that Israel's overall fight?
I mean, I can't count
It's pretty
these
quick. Yeah.
regional. He fought Melvin Gillard. Like, come on, man.
Listen, shit counts. And Vittori, cool. But even then, when you look at Vittori has like a little more stand up. This guy they gave him, Baki, who is literally just coming to wrestle, put his face in your chest and wrestle. Oh, and by the way, when he does it, the hands are still caught up. So it's not like most young prospects. He's not one dimensional. I was just like, why are you blowing your load between your two best prospects, probably, without including the Bellator guys who came over on a random ass Thursday fight in Paris? And then the ending of it is Doumbe gets a splinter in his toe and they call the fight off because he's complaining to the ref, like, yo, there's a piece of glass or wood in my foot. And the ref's like, huh? He's like, my foot, because he only speaks French. And he's trying to tell him. And then Baki understands French. So then they go back and forth. Baki's like, yo, okay, hold on. Just get it fixed. Like, let's take a timeout, pull the splinter out, let's keep going. And then he tells the ref that, and the ref's like, oh, fight's over. And Doumbe gets a TKO off. And Doumbe looking at him, Baki's looking at him like, yo, we want to keep fighting. Huge language barrier, makes no sense. And it was the worst possible outcome I've ever seen for someone booking a megastar prospect.
Yeah, I didn't understand the booking either. Then that finish it's almost John Jones levels of let's forget about this. Let's forget it. Like it didn't even
Keep it
happen,
moving.
right? Like if Cedric Doumbé just continues to win, which he probably will, he'll be fine, and we'll forget about this weird ass injury loss. And it's funny, it comes 2 days before O'Malley and Cheeto Vera had their fight, and O'Malley doesn't acknowledge that Cheeto numbed his leg, and he had drop foot, so he couldn't do anything. So a TKO is a TKO. It sucks, but MMA records don't matter, man. Nobody cares.
No.
Doumbé
And
will be fine.
Baki's not losing either, by the way. You got to keep them
No,
away from each other. And this kid's going to need some more seasoning, but he's not going to lose either. So that win's going to look pretty good on his resume, like an O'Malley win or O'Malley win looks right now for Cheeto. This is better excuse than O'Malley though. O'Malley
yeah,
legit got kicked in the foot. His foot went wobbly and spaghetti like.
yeah,
This
very
is a
much so.
splinter. And who has a splinter in the octagon?
I don't know. Like, how do you get a splinter in something that's supposed to be clear of debris when you're fighting? A splinter of all the things, a splinter in your foot? That's crazy. That's crazy. Oh,
Yeah, it's one of those things. I get it. You kind of have to take off your shoes. Like maybe it happened right before he got in that cage. I don't know. I've never seen shit like that. It's the worst possible scenario for this fight card because now no one's talking about anything else. I haven't seen anything from any other fight.
I mean, can we go out on a limb and say PFL's had a kind of rough start? The PFL versus Bellator card went through a number of changes because of injuries and
Yep.
fighters falling out, and then PFL just got mollywopped for the majority of the card until Renan Ferreira knocked out Ryan Bader in a matter of seconds. But before that, it wasn't looking good for PFL.
No,
And even losing then, that's okay. But the fact that that card kind of fell apart, a lot of those fights fell apart. And then you go into this situation, you got a guy who's like can't miss, Cedric Doumbé, and he loses by TKO to a splinter. Not even to his opponent. He loses to wood in his foot.
he was losing that fight anyway, though. He got taken down 4 times
Yeah, it was rough.
already.
So I figure that these two may meet again like Cheeto and O'Malley will. Like they down the line, they'll pair them up and they'll reference this fight again, and
But
we'll see what happens.
please, I like your just ignore that it happened. Just
Yeah.
keep it moving. Like we're not even acknowledging it. Who cares? On to the next. Shout out to New York Rick, MMA fighting and MMA hour. I text him because Cedric Doumbé is his boy. For like when I start working for Rick, it has to be like 5 years now. when I first got to ESPN and started working for Rick, when he was there with Ariel, and he was talking about him then. Like, this guy is the greatest, and Rick loves obscure MMA. Before the PR world, he came from Glory Kickboxing, one of the kickboxing companies. He was head of PR there before he went to ESPN. So he like follows this shit religiously, and this is his boy. And I texted him, I was like, "What's good with your guy?" He was just like, "Man, we're gonna ignore this shit." He was like, "I need to see him fight Pettis next. Like, just move on, no rematch, no nothing, straight into a Pettis fight." I was like, "That's a good fight. That should have been this fight."
Should have been this fight.
So PFL, they need to just get out of their own way. Like this, they're just overthinking. You have the money, you have the roster now. Just build fights how you're supposed to. This was Bellator booking. When you're trying to mess up a prospect for no reason, be smart, book it correctly, and stuff will work out the right way. In the UFC side of things, we have UFC 299 coming up. We've been waiting for this one, man. We've been waiting for this pay-per-view. It seemed like a long way away. I think they announced this in like January. We couldn't believe it wasn't UFC 300 at the time. Thought like, okay, UFC 300 has a lot to live up to. They're going to blow it out the water. In my opinion, they haven't. You like all the champions on the card, but I don't think 300 compares to this card at all.
I don't know. How don't you think that? Like, look at the UFC 300. Forget the main event.
No, see, you can't do that. You can't say forget the main event.
I can, because the main event ain't horrible. It's Alex Pereira, but you have Gaethje Holloway, Oliveira Sarukian, Prohaska Alexander Ratchich, Calvin Kattar Aljo, Bo Nickel, Davison Figueiredo against Cody Garbrandt, Holly Holm versus Kayla Harrison, Jessica Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez, Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. That's a fucking loaded card.
It's a good card.
Loaded. No, that's loaded. Come on, man.
You know why it's only a good card? Because you didn't mention the co-main or the main.
What Willie's saying, Jan Gionin is a very good fight. That's a good title fight.
It's not a 300 level co-main. Justin Gaethje is still the main event here.
I mean, he's going to be the biggest attraction on the card. Yes, but in terms of a quality card, I agree. I hate this fight, but in terms of a quality card, this is a very quality card. 299 is also very, very good, but the prelims aren't quite as good as UFC 299s. I mean, UFC 300s.
No. The UFC 300, again, isn't there. But these aren't bad.
No,
when you talk about
this is a very good card.
Yeah, this is a good card. Like, Michael Pereira is on the early prelims.
Yeah. I mean, this is a good UFC 299 is loaded. Like, both these cards are extremely loaded. Yeah, I would give the slight edge to 300 in terms of up and down the card, but I think the more competitive fights are at 299. I think just about every fight on 299 is a toss-up. I don't think there's no blowouts on this card. You could pick the 50-50 almost all the way down the line.
Yeah, 100%. So we'll start going through it, because from the first time in forever, it feels like I like the preliminary card as much as the main card. Like, it's one of those where if this, I'm not even gonna say a fight night, if this had like, if the prelims were a card with like the return of Conor McGregor or something in July, I'd be like, this is a pretty damn good card. And it's just the prelims here. So Pedro Munoz versus Kyler Phillips kicking off the prelims.
Good fight. It's a good fight because Munoz gave O'Malley a problem before O'Malley poked him in the eye. And then he lost to Cheeto, but it wasn't like it was a barn burner. Like, Munoz was maybe a win away from being in title contention if we would have beat either of those guys. So to have him on the prelims kicking it off against Kyler Phillips, who is no slouch himself, it's a good goddamn opening fight. I'm going to pick Pedro Munoz, but Kyler Phillips is no joke, man. This is a good opening fight.
O'Malley's had a couple fights where it's just like, yo, we're going to act like this didn't happen.
Yes, is O'Malley's.
Just keep it moving.
I've told you, O'Malley's career is 1-2 skip a few title fight. That's if you look at his resume, we'll get to it when we get to the main event, but it ain't like he had the path with the most resistance. He was like, oh, you poked him in the eye? You get Petr Yan in your next fight. You barely got past Petr Yan? you get the title fight. Like, he hasn't had the path. Like, even Kyler Phillips, who has a win over Song Yadong.
Yeah.
Like, you could argue that O'Malley might have the weakest resume. Might, even though Jan and Sterling are both champions, everything else before that was just like beating people up
Yeah.
that were no good. And then,
It's like Conor McGregor, man. He had
pretty much so.
brimage. Oh, I mean, I guess the early fights, like he did fight Max Holloway. That ended up looking great. He starched Dustin Poirier. That looked great in retrospect.
Yeah, of
But
course.
at the time, they were both kind of green and didn't find their sea legs. So he caught them early, and he was early. So that was really good. But outside it, right before the title fight, it was just like he beat Dennis Seaver.
Yeah, he beat Dennis Seaver, and everybody's like, wow.
Then it was like title times. What?
It's different times, man.
Yeah.
Different times.
And then
One, two,
Aldo
skip a
pulled
few.
out. He beats
Yep.
Mendez, where Mendez has him on his back, and then he starches Mendez, and then the Aldo fight, 13 seconds. So it's similar build. And to your credit, that's how they got to build stars. Because, like you said, the loss is coming.
Yeah, it's inevitable. It's coming.
So you gotta skip more than one on this crazy path up the ladder. So yeah, but Pedro Munoz, 37. It sucks because if he would have beat O'Malley, it could have changed the whole end of his career. I'm not sure he's gonna have time to climb back up. It's a great fight, but I have to pick Kyler Phillips because 37 ain't young in these lower divisions.
No, you're right.
And shit, you told me that a couple weeks ago, and lo and behold, it stayed true. So I'm a rock with that. Gamrot versus RDA.
It's another great fight.
Great fight. Gamrot, this is where it's like, okay, come on. Like, because RDA, former champion, RDA doesn't show his age, really. He still fights really well. He doesn't look that crazy. Being injured during like that Conor McGregor phase and then moving up and then down kind of saved his body a little bit. But this is still one of those fights where I think he loses, and it's a great name on Gamrot's resume.
I don't know. I don't know which RDA is showing up. RDA is 39. He's coming off a loss to Vicente Luque in the welterweight division. He's moving back down. He yo-yoed between weight classes for this past like 6 fights. If you look at this card, it's a lot of veterans versus the new blood, right? A lot of these matchups are shaped that way. And this is the one that concerns me the most because RDA is a former champion, but if he loses the Gamrot, his tenure in the UFC could be in jeopardy. He's a guy that you could say another loss, maybe they cut him. I think he's 4-6 in his last 10 fights. It hasn't been a great ride for RDA since being the champion. So you tried your hand at welterweight, didn't work out. You're moving around. Gamrot's a very tough opponent, and you're 39 years old. So I'm going to pick Gamrot as well. Again, this is almost a 50-50 fight to me. If the RDA that dominated the lightweight division, if some semblance of that man shows up, this will be a hell of a fight. But I don't think it is. I think at 39, RDA is on the back of his career.
He's 4-6. You're right, in his last 10. But that's since 2018, since like moving up. But you look at that, Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington,
Killers.
Leon Edwards.
Killers.
Those are 3 losses in a row he had. Then he beat Kevin Lee. Then he goes out, loses to Chiesa. That's a tough loss. Beats Paul Felder. Comes back, beats Moicano, loses to Fiziev, beats Barberina, loses to Luque. Like the losses are pretty good.
He's been in there with stiff competition, man. Yeah. It's not like he's been losing to bums. He's been losing to ranked fighters. And it's been a tough road for him. I mean, even the Moicano win was on a short notice fight, and it made Moicano more than it did for RDA that night.
Yeah,
Moicano was getting the shit beat out of him for a while. But I just don't know where RDA is at this stage of his career. It'll be interesting to see if he can still summon the old RDA. And this is a quality opponent. May not be on the level of a Leon or Kamaru or even a Felder, but it's a tough out. And Gamrot's going to wrestle. It's going to be an interesting fight.
Yeah. Then we have Caitlin Chukagian versus Macy Barber at flyweight. I mean, Macy Barber is always so close to being what she's supposed to be. This latest run, past 2 years, is really where she stepped up. She got it cemented with this fight.
Yeah, and Chukagian has a new last name. She got married. Sermonera. is her
Okay.
new last name now. But Chukagian's been that woman that sat on top of the division, like in the top five for like the longest time. She's had great winning streaks, but every time she gets close or gets a title fight, she loses. Macy Barber's been a prospect that we've been waiting for her to mature and find a way, and I think she's kind of figured it out. Um, we I hosted Sirius XM today to do our UFC 299 preview. We were supposed to talk to Macy, but Macy's weight cut has been tough, and she had to pass on doing the interview, which makes me wonder how much she's going to lose heading into this fight. I'm still going to pick her though. I think she's the better fighter. I think she's evolved. I think she's fine, not necessarily reaching her final form, but she's getting pretty close. She's getting pretty close to whatever it is that she's going to be. I'm going to pick Macy Barber by decision.
I thought for a while she should move up. I'm honestly not sure why she's still cutting weight, like to this division. She's proven enough. Is a title shot around the corner? Sure, but I can say that in every women's division. Like you go up, have one fight, and be in a title shot in any division right now.
Especially in bantamweight.
Yeah, bantamweights. Please, please. We're looking for a contender, a young one that we can market. Please. So I don't know why she's still fighting in this weight, but yeah, I'll take her to win. Hopefully the weight cut's not too bad because then I'll be eating my words. And then Curtis Blades versus Jonathan Almeida. Almeida. Almeida's going to wrap his ass up like a pretzel because Blades does one thing, and you don't want to do that one thing with this guy.
Man, I don't know. I don't know. Jonathan Almeida did not look great against Derek Lewis. It was a horrible fight. Horrible fight. And Curtis Blades is not an easy out. You have to be a striker to deal with him. Like only strikers have been able to get rid of this man. Pavlovich, Francis, of course. And Almeida's not a striker, and he's not a finished product either. Like when we watch Alton Almeida fight, we know he's really good, but there are some holes in his game. It's a 50-50 fight to me. If you ask me right now, I'm going to pick Curtis Blades. I think it'll be close.
Blades knocked out Tom Aspinall?
Yeah, injury.
Oh.
That's when Aspinall got hurt.
Yeah, he tore his knee.
Yeah.
Some wild shit. Okay, cool. I was like, what? What did I miss?
No, but Almeida has a lot of things to work on. Blades could get submitted if he's not careful, but he's got very good top control. He doesn't get submitted. He gets knocked out. And if Almeida can't knock him out, and we got 15 minutes of Curtis Blades putting you on your back, and even being offensive off your back is not going to convince all three judges. Yeah. So unless he can wrap him up, which I'm not sure he can, because again, everything that Blades does from the wrestling position to top control is very smart. He doesn't leave himself open. I'm going to pick Curtis Blades by decision just because I don't think the referees is going to put a lot of value on Almeida's submission attempts. And he's going to have to keep this fight standing up. And Blades' striking has gotten a lot better too. Almeida's got to show me something.
Yeah, this is a prove it fight, but man, I don't know. Just being on the ground with a guy who's that good at submissions and that damn big is going to be tough. But again, you just can't get caught in the scramble. Like, I don't think Almeida's going to take Blades down. But if Blades does and Almeida, for some reason, flippies that shit around and ends up in top, it's going to be a long, long 5 minutes for Curtis Blades. And then switching over to the main card, Petr Yan versus Song Yadong. My boy, Song Yadong. You know what? Petr Yan's only 31. I don't know. He's had tough fights, losing to O'Malley, tough. Losing to Sterling twice, no shame in that. Marab ran through him. Marab runs through a lot of people. This will be 5 fights in a row if he loses this?
3.
3? Who'd he beat?
In between all this, he beat was it Sandhagen? Yeah, Sandhagen.
Sure. Okay. I have him losing to Marab in 2023, losing to O'Malley 2022, losing to Sterling 2022, beat Sandhagen in 2021 after losing to Sterling. So yeah, he's 1-4 in his last 5. He needs this one more. I'm going with Petr Yan. Even though Song Yadong is so young, so good, not even reached his prime yet, but he just doesn't need it as much.
Well, I mean, Yadong's 26. He's a great striker. Petr Yan is in a situation where, yeah, he's lost these fights, but you were dominating Aljo before you need him in the face like a dummy. That cost you that fight. You look good against Sandhagen. The rematch was close. I thought Sterling won, but it was what it was. It was a close fight. A lot of people thought he beat O'Malley, even though O'Malley got the nod.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Marab fight, there's nothing you can fucking do about that. Like that, Marab was just gonna cut through him like a hot knife through butter. So Jan needs this. This is a guy who's a former champion who at one point, a lot of people were like, who's going to be Petr Yan? And now he's on a fight card where Song Yadong's trying to use him as a trampoline into the upper crust of the division. I'm going to go with Jan as well because I think Jan is he's bullish, he's strong. If it turns into a striking matchup, that it could work for him because Yadong's not as dynamic as O'Malley. He's not going to take him down. I'm gonna pick Petr Yan by a decision. But it should be a good fight. This should be a really
it's
good
gonna
fight.
be a great fight. It's tough. Like he can't rush. Song Yadong will make him pay. Song Yadong has a win over Chito Vera. And Cheeto's in the main event. Like Song Yadong's been in there with some of the best, you know. So it's one of those things where he sees the opportunity. It's just Petr Yan. If you lose this, either you got to move up or you got to move out of the UFC because it's tough if he loses this fight. So yeah, he just needs it more, and he was just champion not too long ago. So I think those skills haven't diminished that much yet. Next up, Gilbert Burns versus JDM. It's a big step up fight for JDM.
Yeah, this is tough. Jack Della Maddalena is a guy that looks like he can break through. He wasn't terribly impressive in his last fight. Gilbert Burns has only lost to the best.
Fight. His last fight was Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland is not nothing to sneeze at. But yeah, that was his toughest fight, and he didn't look great.
No, and against Hafez, it was a split decision. He didn't look great in that fight either. Mm-hmm. I'm picking Gilbert Burns because Gilbert Burns is, I mean, he gave Hamza Chimaev hell in that fight. Hell. And if you look at what Gilbert Burns has, he lost to Bilal Muhammad, but he was injured in that fight. Mm-hmm. You know, he beat Masvidal, he beat Neil Magny, he lost to Chimaev, he lost to Kamaru Usman, but he beats almost everybody else he fights. I'm definitely going to go with Gilbert Burns. He may stop Maddalena if he's not careful. But again, I keep saying it, like this card is so competitive. This could be a toss-up fight. Della Maddalena might just be the real deal. And I think he is. It's a real tough matchup when you find somebody like Gilbert Burns, former title contender, just as dynamic on the feet as he is on the ground. If this fight hits the mat, Della Maddalena is in trouble. Yeah. Gilbert Burns is exceptional jiu-jitsu that is not talked about enough.
Black belt in jiu-jitsu, right? Like a legit black, like he's one of the real best. Yeah.
And the thing about Gilbert, and he said this before, is like he fell in love with his striking, like most guys do. He didn't use his offensive wrestling and submissions as much. I think he'll use them here against Maddalena. I don't think he wants to stand in a sharpshooting fight with Della Maddalena, who's a really good striker. But yeah, give me Gilbert Burns. But man, it's another 50-50 fight.
Yeah, my boy from New York hits me up like most of these fights. He's like, yo, he just wants to play some bets. He likes betting UFC. He's just like, all right, what do you think of these bets? Blah, blah. He hit me up this week. It's like, bro, I don't know what to tell you. I was like, every fight's a 50-50 fight.
It is.
He was like, what? I was like, no, I can't. Like, don't go with me. He sent me his picks. I was like, honestly, he was doing a 4-team parlay or a 4-person parlay. So honestly, I can see all 4 of these guys losing. And he had O'Malley on that shit.
Yep.
And I was like, I see them all 4 possibly losing. Like, and just having a clean sweep the other way. It's such a toss-up. But I'm going to go JDM just because usually when you do the 1-2 skip a few for these young fighters, it usually works out in their favor. Do I think he's a better fighter than Gilbert Burns right now? No. Do I think anyone on his resume is close or comparable to what he's going to see in Gilbert Burns? No. But it's a 3-round fight, not 5. And I think these young guys get up for these situations where Gilbert Burns has been in this pressure situation for so long that sometimes they just mistakenly and don't know when they're doing it, they just take their foot off the gas. And then the younger guy ends up pulling it out. Petr Yan versus Sean O'Malley, where it's just like, okay, I'm used to something, no titles on the line, I'm gonna give it a little bit. But Sean O'Malley dug deep and did enough for the judges to think he won. I still am not sure he won that fight. But it's one of those things where I think JDM can have a similar situation in 3 rounds and pick up split decision victory here. And then Kevin Holland versus Michael Venom Page. This is where I wish the UFC did ring walks and the pageantry and everything. Because these two, this shit will be a spectacle on the way to the ring. And MVP's coming with some wild shit if he wins. So give me MVP just because I want to see him do some like real big stage theatrics because he has to introduce himself to that audience. I don't think he's faced anyone as good as Kevin Holland yet. Kevin Holland's really fucking good. And I've seen MVP just shell up and look ugly sometimes. But it's 3 rounds. He'll throw some spinny shit, hurt Holland a little bit. But to me, the way to beat Holland is always put him on his back, and then he'll just talk enough shit, and you'll pick up that round. Standing up, like MVP has to do against him for 15 minutes, is going to be tough. But give me MVP.
Yeah, this is an interesting fight because MVP never quite became what people thought MVP was going to be. After the Cyborg knockout where he did in the man's forehead, he goes into the Grand Prix. Before that, he fights Paul Daly in a stinker.
Yeah.
Douglas Lima sends him to hell. Then he beats a few, I don't want to call them bums, but not great fighters. And now he's here in the UFC. And
he never challenged top 5 again after that tournament.
No,
right?
He didn't.
Damn.
So the interesting thing about Kevin Holland is if Kevin Holland decides to stand with MVP, he's going to lose, in my opinion. I think the problem with Kevin Holland, this is a very similar fight to when Holland fought Wonder Boy. And Holland wanted to stand up, and Wonder Boy was like, cool, and then beat the shit out of him. MVP is just as creative as Wonder Boy is in striking. I don't think he's as responsible defensively, and Holland's got strange power in both of his hands that, he can catch you kind of anywhere. But if Holland doesn't deploy his wrestling at some point in this fight, and he allows this to be a kickboxing match for 3 rounds, he's going to lose. And he might get hurt. MVP is really good at slipping and countering. He's really good at setting up that flying knee. The longer you stand in front of him, and if you don't make him consider being put on his back, he's going to outstrike you. I'm going to pick MVP, and it might be brutal. I don't think it'll be like a 1-punch knockout, but I think he catches Kevin Holland at some point in this fight with something.
He needs
maybe in the first 10 minutes. Maybe it doesn't go to round 3. But again, it's another 50-50 fight. If Holland says, you know what, fuck this shit, I'm going to put him on his back, then MVP he's going to lose. If he has to think about the takedown, he's going to lower his hands, he's going to get caught. But if Holland, he's going to have to mix it up. But Holland just likes to stand up. He does dumb shit.
He does. Like he wants to stand and bang, bro. Like they're never going to cut him because he's always exciting. Yeah. So he has nothing to lose. So
and he did them a favor with a Kamaya fight. Like the UFC is never going to cut that man.
No, he's what they like. And then co-main event, Dustin Poirier, Benoit Saint Denis. It's a fucking horrible matchup for Poirier. I never like this. With Conor McGregor on the horizon, maybe Conor never fights again, but you have 2 wins off for Conor and never capitalized on that momentum, really. He's going to lose this fight. And it's going to be the end of big ticket worthy fights for Dustin Poirier. He's going to be co-main or lower on the card. This is just a horrible stylistic matchup for him.
I don't think so.
Really?
I think yeah. Benoit Saint Denis, he's more of a pressure fighter who is also a wrestler. He got a great stoppage in his last fight, but Poirier's seen it all.
Last 2, Thiago Moses and Matt Frivola, fucked them both up.
Neither of them are Dustin Poirier. Not even close.
Oh, he's on 4. He's on a 4-fight stoppage streak.
Yeah, Benoit Saint Denis is incredible. Like the way he pressure fights and the way he controls what he does with his aggression is impressive.
Does it not remind you of Justin Gaethje?
No, not at all. He's not as dynamic as a striker as Justin
Okay.
Gaethje.
No, he's not gonna kick your head off but the pressure where it's nonstop.
Yeah, but I believe Poirier's seen all this shit before. It's a
Yes.
bad matchup in the sense that what does Poirier get out of this, right?
Yeah.
Poirier's in a spot now. He got knocked out by Justin Gaethje. You don't need to fight anymore. The money you made off the McGregor fights, the money you made off the Gaethje fight, you are paid. Like he is wealthy.
His
As a,
hot sauce is delicious. If anyone's never had it, it deserves to make way more money. That shit is delicious.
the man doesn't have to fight, but he wants to fight. This is what he does. He is
Yeah.
a fighter. And Poirier is a guy who, again, Benoit Saint Denis is not going to show him anything he's never seen before. He's dealt with fights like this before. It's the UFC wants to see if Saint Denis has it. Now, the real question is Saint Denis going to make the fight? I don't know if you've seen on social media this bullet hole that he has sticking in his head right now. Looks like a nasty staph infection that Saint Denis has in his head. He's going to have to put a band-aid on and lie to some doctors to get past this. But if the fight does happen,
with that?
I don't
Staph
know.
infection's the weirdest shit. Like, I was in nursing school for a while. I still don't understand staph infection.
Dude, I
The
don't
shit's
know.
like aggressive ringworm. Like, I don't understand it.
And if they deem it a staph infection, this fight's not happening. So, and this is supposed to be a 5-rounder too. And you don't want to fight if you have staph infection. Kevin Lee fought Tony Ferguson with staph infection.
You
and
get
didn't have any
drained
energy.
like this.
Yeah.
Like
So
this. Like you try to hide that. We main evented. We headlined Wrestling with Stereotypes because Moxley has staph infection.
Yep.
You had to pull
his elbow.
And that was a talking engagement.
Yeah,
like,
he couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's you try to fight.
Yeah. No, it's
yeah,
a 50-50
if you got staph,
fight.
I gotta take my prediction back. If it's staph, I gotta go Dustin Poirier. Because it's just I get it though. This is his shot.
This
right?
is.
So if you gotta hide it, I don't know how. Fucking cut your hair over. I don't know.
It's not pretty. But all things being said, like this is a tough fight. Regardless if Poirier's seen the style before, Saint Denis he's a violent human being who just likes to come at you.
Yep.
And it's different from Merab. Like Merab's just going to take you down and wear you out. Saint Denis is going to find an opening and try to throw hands with you, whatever. I just feel like Poirier's seen all this shit before. As long as Poirier still has the desire to fight, so that's really the question at this point. And he's not put in a situation where it's like the middle of the second round. He's going, "What the fuck am I doing here?" He'll be fine. I'm going to pick Poirier to win.
He's 35. That's that age, right? Like that's the cutoff. Like 35 for these lighter weights is like that age.
It's mileage for Poirier more than anything else, though. Like even the age, I'm not necessarily concerned about the age as I am the mileage. The man has fought everybody.
Some people twice.
Yeah, and he's been in a fair share of wars. Like he's had a lot of wars. He doesn't get into fights that aren't hyper violent. The Dan Hooker fight, for instance, that takes years off of people's careers. He comes right back. He keeps fighting. He fought Charles Oliveira. He fought Justin Gaethje. He fought Conor McGregor twice. He's fought
Justin Gaethje twice. That first Gaethje fight, he was almost knocked out.
That's right. Yeah, it's insane. It's insane what Dustin Poirier has done. So there's a scenario where Saint Denis just mows him down and Poirier lays down his gloves in the octagon. I see
that. Yeah.
But I think Poirier wants to prove it to himself that he still has it. And I think he finds a way. It's crazy. It's a 5-round fight, too. I'm picking Poirier, but
I'm now picking Poirier because Saint Denis that's another. It's 25.
Yeah.
So it's like if you are compromised in any way,
you're not gonna be able to do it, bro.
Nah, that's gonna wear your ass out. Because if anything, the cardio is still there.
Yeah. So I'm picking Poirier. It's just the way I gotta go.
God, I gotta switch over to Poirier. Main event: Sean O'Malley versus Chito Vera. O'Malley's not gonna get kicked in the leg again. It's not gonna go limp. Chito Vera's again, he's good, but I've seen him lose to people who are not as skilled as Sean O'Malley, not as powerful. He's on a great run, right? Like Pedro Munoz, he wins that fight. Actually lost to Corey Sandhagen before then. Beat Dominic Cruz, beat Rob Font. That was when he beat Frankie Edgar. He was going through all the vets. A lot of his shit went to decision when he wasn't against the vets. Jose Aldo beat him. Sonya Dong beat him. He's been a 50-50 fighter. Honestly, he's fighting this because Sean O'Malley wants that get back. And I think at this point, Sean knows something, and Sean's going to stop him.
It's interesting. You know, Marlon Vera has never been knocked out.
Never been stopped. Yep. I just looked.
He's never been knocked down in a fight.
O'Malley's going to stop him.
I don't know. I mean,
O'Malley could just go 25, do a couple basketball things, jab at him. No, O'Malley is going to prove a point. He's going to stop him.
he's gonna have to try to. A 25-minute fight with Marlon Vera, who is vastly underrated. Yeah, he lost to Jose Aldo, but he sent both Dominic Cruz and Frankie Edgar to make them reconsider their entire careers. Both of them vicious highlight reel knockouts.
I believe both of them are older than you.
They're both old. I mean, don't get me wrong. But as I said earlier in the show, I don't know how good Sean O'Malley is. He hasn't really fought anybody comparable. Like you lose to Cheeto, no matter what you say, you lost to Cheeto. The Yan fight, people say that you lost.
Okay, but he went 25. And Cheeto's not as good as Petr Yan.
I think so. I think Cheeto is as good as Petr Yan.
Is he as good as Aljamain Sterling?
It depends on where the fight goes. Aljo was a bad style matchup. I said that from day one. He had to get inside. And if he couldn't, which he couldn't, he's not going to be able to strike with him. Like, O'Malley's got to go 25 minutes with a guy who is very violent, who doesn't get hurt.
Who's going to kick his leg now constantly.
He's going to go I mean, Cheeto's going to go after him. I think if O'Malley can't stop him, he's going to have to fight. I don't want to call it the perfect fight, but he's going to have to fight like it's a points fight. Like if he gets into a situation where he realizes, like, all right, Vera could take this shit, because again, the man's never been knocked down, which is impressive. Also, you got to remember, Cheeto Vera leads the bantamweight division in finishes and knockouts. He's tied with O'Malley with 6 knockouts. They both have 6 each, but he leads the whole division with 10 finishes. Vera's a finisher. He didn't look great against Sanhagen, and the Munoz fight was kind of flat and boring.
Yeah.
What's going to cost Cheeto Vera this fight is he's a notoriously slow starter. That is his biggest problem.
Wasn't against O'Malley last time.
No, well,
that's not true. O'Malley was peppering him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He only did leg kicks, but it paid off.
Like, Vera's not a fast starter. It usually takes him a round or two, and you can't really do that with somebody like Sean O'Malley. If he gets 2 in the bag, and then he figures out how to points fight, he could win this fight going away. Cheeto's gonna have to pressure him from the start. I'm gonna say O'Malley retains, and then I don't care who wins, they're gonna lose to Merab, because that's just the way it goes.
Keep O'Malley away from Merab by all means. Listen,
Merab's also he's
me. I would move up. I'll take my chances with Ilya over fighting Merab.
Dude, Merab's the alternate. If one of these two can't make the fight, Merab's stepping in for either an interim title fight or a title fight. If I'm either of them, and if Cheeto doesn't make it, if I'm O'Malley, cancel the fight. I ain't fighting that motherfucker on 2 days' notice.
I will fight Cheeto 15 pounds overweight before I fight Merab on weight.
Yeah, there's no way.
No. What's the catch weight? What does he need? We getting in this octagon.
If the UFC says, "Oh, Cheeto got bad weight cut, he can't make the weight at all. Like, he's dehydrated, got to go to the hospital. Fight's not happening."
No,
Merab stepping in. I'm like, all right, the women are the main event then. Yeah. Or I'm not the women. St. Denis and Poirier. Yeah. That's your main event. I ain't fighting the motherfucker on 2 days' notice.
I'll see you International Fight Week.
Yep, I'm not fighting that
Vegas. Reschedule it. We'll be there.
And if the fans call me a bitch, well, I'm a bitch, because I ain't fighting them. Not on short notice. It's not, it's not fair that UFC makes it seem like, oh yeah, we got this guy right here. He's an alternate. On 2 days' notice, it's not even the same style.
No.
Like, what O'Malley and Cheeto have been preparing for is a very strike-heavy style. Merab ain't that. Merab's going to press you up against the fence, be in your face, smile at you, and then try to take you down repeatedly. He's relentless with that shit.
I don't want to fight him on a full camp.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what
2 days notice?
They said he was the alternate. I was like, they're nuts. There's
and
no
Merab
way.
is nuts. Because he won that last fight and then went right back into training.
Oh, like, yeah, he fought Cejudo. I was like, cool, I'm ready.
Yeah, like he'll fight right now if you let him.
The guy's a maniac.
25 minutes. Like, that's a breeze.
Yeah,
he probably fight Aljo again.
He don't mind any of this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm going to pick O'Malley to win decision. I don't think he knocks him out, but again, I don't fucking know. If I'm a betting man, though, I'm putting money on Cheeto, because Cheeto's like a plus almost 300 underdog, which I think is insane. Styles make fights. Sean O'Malley's one to skip his way into a title fight.
He's going to get one title defense, and then
he's going to.
Again, I'd move up and fight Ilya in
Yeah, I'm
Spain for the dough before I fought Marab in Vegas for nothing.
fucked up though. Like Ilya might fuck you up too.
Yeah, but at least I can negotiate a new contract. Like,
Yeah, we gotta figure out something.
give me
Yeah,
another deal. I'll go to Spain. I'll figure it out. Maybe he crumbles under the pressure of being at home. I don't know. I'll take my shot at that. At least I know I'm gonna be standing, and we gonna throw
yeah,
hands. And if worst
yeah,
case, it sounds horrible. Worst case, he gonna knock me out. But he ain't gonna fucking just grind me into the mat for 5 rounds and make me look
yeah.
like a child.
I don't want any parts of that. So
Oh,
yeah, give me O'Malley, UFC 299, really stacked card. If you
yep.
ain't doing for whatever reason on Saturday, if you're like, maybe I should buy it, or however you watch your UFC pay-per-views, no, watch this shit from top
Man,
to
it's
bottom.
combat
It's
sports weekend. Combat sports weekend,
it is.
front to back. We have that on Saturday. You got Joshua on Friday, which you guys are probably wondering what happened to a boxing episode. We're waiting till after the Joshua and Ngannou fight, and then we'll record that episode, recap that. Super dope. Talk about all the Ryan Garcia shit that happened this week. We'll talk about Canelo, where there's reports that his next fight is locked in. There's so much boxing to talk. It is insane. So
Yeah.
we're going to bring you that right immediately, right after the fight on Friday. So make sure you guys check that one out. That's going to be really fun. This has been a great MMA episode. Shout out to everyone who's watching on Patreon. If you're not on Patreon, what are you waiting for? Now that everything's set up, I'm good with my jobs. Corner Podcast and Friends episode coming very, very soon in this next week. Excuse me, it's supposed to be last week, but your boy picked up a new job. So I had to do training and all that stuff. So excuse that. We're going to get that going. Going to be hooking up the giveaways. I'm pretty certain my first giveaway, the first giveaway we'll do is one of these WrestleMania chairs. I have a ton of them. I feel like I could share the wealth. So WrestleMania chair. We got other stuff we can give away. It's going to be really fun to the Patreon members. So if you're not subscribed to that, I don't know what to tell you. Your chances are diminishing by the hour when you're not on that for these giveaways. So we appreciate you all. Shout out to everyone listening. For myself, the old man, Andreas Hell. Till next time, we're out.
Peace.